What's going on, everyone? This is Angus of Boss Fitness, and I'm super excited to be sharing with you some epic content in this video today, where I'm going to be touching on why I believe clean eating to be a fairy tale. Okay, so this is definitely controversial. It's something that likely goes against what you've been taught, but I want to drop some knowledge on you so that you can gain some key insight into why this way of thinking when it comes to food and operating isn't going to allow you to achieve your best body, okay? Because I know those of you that are watching, you want to get tight and toned, you want to have the sexy midsection, you want to have awesome looking arms, awesome looking thighs, the works. But if your focus is on just eating clean, that isn't going to be what's going to allow you to go all the way towards where you want to be. So let's work through these points, okay? You can see here that for 9 times out of 10, we are actually taught to believe that such and such is bad. So usually this is something like carbs, it's something like sugar, it's something like anything that's processed or anything that comes from a packet and that it's bad, all right? I too had this conditioning, I too lived this way for a long period of time, and we'll touch on what that did to me in just a sec. We're also taught to believe that all those things, the carbs, sugar, whatever, we're taught to believe that it's poisoning us, that it's causing us to become obese, that it's causing us to have cancer and lifestyle-related diseases, and also that it is the culprit for why many people can't actually drop weight, okay? So it's shunning quite a bit of a negative light. The thing here though as well, and why I don't actually like clean eating personally, is because it can mean a million different things, for a different person. So in other words, so for example, vegans, right? They're going to have their own definition of what it means. You've got bodybuilders, for example, right? They're going to have their own definition of what it means. Then you've got, so for example, the typical, office worker, right? Who just, does cardio or whatever. They're going to have their own definition of what it means, and I guarantee that you're going to have a different version of what it means compared to your best mate, compared to your mum, or whatever. It means something different to absolutely everyone. And the thing here, though, and what I want you to really just grasp here, is that there are no good or bad foods, okay? There's also nothing that is inherently clean or unclean. There's actually nothing as well that is naughty or nice, okay? You might hear that often, it's just like, oh, it's a bit naughty, oh, I can't have that. Like you usually have that sort of association to a lot of different foods. But understand though, get this right, that too much of anything, okay? Too much of anything can actually cause you harm, right? So that means that, oh mate, watermelon can actually cause you harm. That means that all these goji berries that you're eating, if you eat too much of them, that's actually going to cause you harm as well. Same as these kale smoothies with ginger and spinach or whatever, if you have too much of that, that can actually cause you harm as well, okay? So ultimately understand that fat loss is all about calories in versus calories out, okay? Pretty much absolutely everything will have a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of calories, and a certain amount of actual just sustenance that the body can use. Obviously everything's different and it has a varying amount of nutrients, but understand that at the end of the day, calories in versus calories out will be king in terms of you achieving your dream body composition, okay? Obviously in sync with this, things like hormones come into play, okay? Especially for those of you ladies that are tuning in, all right? When it comes to hormones, you've got key things like leptin, you've got things like insulin, you've got things like ghrelin, you've got cortisol and testosterone and estrogen and stuff that come into play. But the thing here though is that what I tend to find is that if someone doesn't know this sort of stuff, they're focusing so much on the quality of what they're eating, and they've got zero idea as to how much fuel they actually require to let alone maintain any muscle or lose any body fat. And if this is happening, right, because they're so malnourished effectively, right, or on the other side of things, they might actually be overeating, yeah? If this is happening and there's all these imbalances in between or whatever, this is when people can develop things like leptin resistance, like a dodgy thyroid and things like that, yeah? You probably know someone that has that and they're just kind of like, well, fuck, like, why have I got this when all I'm doing is eating clean, okay? So it's important that you gain this awareness, and this is what's going to allow you to become the master of your hormones and really effectively build your dream body, okay? Clean eating, understand, can only get you so far, all right? I experienced this firsthand. I was eating super clean. Right off the bat, I was getting great results, and likely you might be able to relate to this yourself as well. You're kicking ass, you're like, fuck yeah, awesome, I'm killing it, I'm eating clean, I've cut out soft drink, I've cut out sugar, I've cut out this, I'm getting results, this is amazing. And you've got that confidence momentum and you feel like you're an absolute boss, and things are great. But fast forward a couple of weeks or whatever, right, it's just like, oh no, progress has started to slow. Shit, what's happening? What do I do? Oh, snap. And what tends to happen here is that we start cutting out more things. we start removing more and more carbs. We start removing, like in essence what we're cooking in, and we might start going all out organic or whatever, right? But the thing here though is that once again, you can only keep doing this for so long. It gets you so far, and then what happens is that plateau comes in, your body's putting up a resistance, and it's very hard to be able to move yourself forward, yeah? And what usually happens here, okay, is that a lot of people actually then get into meal replacement shakes. They get into Duramine. They get into, like all these different crazy protein powders and like fat burners and, just all sorts of crazy stuff like that, right? To be able to try and keep things going and moving along so that they achieve that same success, yeah? And this is where you see the memes where it's just like that dinosaur where he's like, and he's like, what do clean eaters do when they get to that plateau? Like, this is where there's that thing where it's just like, do you start washing your food in soap to make it cleaner? Like, legit, it only gets you so far. And when I experienced this firsthand, what actually happened was that you're obviously putting in a lot of hustle, you're putting in a lot of hard work. But the thing here though is that then for me, I was just like, well, I must just have dodgy genetics. This must, you know what I mean? You start to justify sort of what it could be. And then because this puts you into a negative mindset, you then obviously binge and go to town on all this stuff that you tell yourself you can't have. So for me, it was anything sweet, it was anything savory, it was anything basically with carbs. And I would binge and go to town on those things, and this would develop binge eating habits. So the thing here for you is that if you, you're experiencing a plateau, understand that there's a way forward, okay? What I tend to see is that really I sort of classify clean eating as a diet because it's fairly difficult to be able to build a lifestyle around it. Understand that what all diets basically collectively do is that they put you into a calorie deficit, but depending on which diet you're doing, that will determine basically which rules and stuff come associated to it. So say for example, you've got I quit sugar. That's obvious what happens in there. You cut out sugar and you replace it with lots of nutrients, and naturally it's going to put you into a deficit because you'll be dropping a lot of carbs, yeah? Let's say for example, ketogenic, right? Obviously that's you cutting out carbs. Naturally you're going to be put into a calorie deficit. Yes, you'll lose weight, right? Same goes for paleo. You're eating lots of fat, minimal carbs, whatever, but you get the drift. So the thing here though is obviously with clean eating, because it means different for everyone else, really it kind of counts as a diet because it's putting you into a calorie deficit, but where the holes are is that you still have no idea as to the quantity. Therefore, when your progress stalls, it's very difficult to be able to see what you should do to move forward, yeah? Plus the thing here though is that, I don't know about you, but if you actually go to the shops these days, right, especially if you're someone that lives in Australia, there is so much awesome food available, right? And it's also quick and instant, and it tastes absolutely amazing, right? So if you're on your clean eating bandwagon, whatever diet, the thing here though is that it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to enjoy all those foods and therefore make any sort of consistent lifestyle disciplinary habits out of it, okay? So all diets work, okay, because they put you into a caloric deficit, but the thing here though is that because of the fact that it's so restrictive and it puts you into that internal box of rules and can eat this, can't eat that, but internally you actually just go, oh, like I really want to actually eat that stuff, and therefore this is where you usually have this binge and restrict cycle that I tend to see. Clean eaters, vegans, whatever, there's a lot of people that get themselves stuck into this, and this is where Monday to Friday, you're usually super good, you're on point, you're chasing the holy grail of fat loss, you're meal prepping and all that sort of stuff. But then the Friday weekend vibes roll in, and then you're invited to social events, people start drinking at work, whatever, and therefore you find that it kind of goes, and you start justifying that you've been good all week, and before you know it, you're, eating crazy or whatever. You might even just go to the state where it's just like, because you hate the fact that you stuffed up and that you feel guilty and whatever. For me, what I used to do was I used to eat to the point of feeling sick and basically kind of hating myself, because I was just feeling so down the fact that I stuffed up again, despite the fact that I've got such important goals to me, and in a cycle of just nothing working. Yeah, I know that many of you watching are likely relating to this as well. And let's be honest here, like the thing here is that you need to be able to continue to do what you're doing for months and years to come for it to really be a success for you. In other words, very few people who are avid clean eaters and stuff, yes, they might get some awesome results, but if you chat to them like a year down the track or even 2 years or whatever, it's very rarely that you'll see someone that has maintained their epic results. Why? Because it was too hard to keep up. They actually like eating chocolate. They actually like eating, whatever. So in terms of what's going to be a big takeaway for you and what you should be applying moving forward is really embracing the quantity aspects rather than quality. Because obviously in clean eating, you're focusing so much on the quality of your food, but what's missing is this quantity aspect, all right? In other words, you need to be aware of how much energy your body requires to give it a reason to lose body fat. What I always suggest is that you eat 20% below what your maintenance level is, and you gradually reduce it from there. That way you've got somewhere to go when your progress actually stalls, okay? And if you think about that chick from the old El Paso ads, where it's just like, for years everyone was having a battle between hard and soft tacos, and there was that big rivalry, right? If you think about her, she's like, well, in other words, why not have both? The idea here is that when your focus is on quantity of food, right, rather than quality, you're in a position then to be able to select foods from both ends of the spectrum to be able to meet your personal targets. Because it's very difficult for someone to eat solely #clean foods to be able to meet their fat loss intake. In other words, you're going to have a shitload of fiber going on, you're going to have a whole lot of crazy stuff going on, and then if this is happening, what will then go on is that you'll feel bloated, you'll find it very difficult to be able to actually hit your personal intake targets, and therefore to feel like a diet, you'll fall off the wagon, and then this flexible way of fat loss will become something that joins the list of failed attempts of stuff that you tried that didn't work. So on the other side of things, you could obviously take this and go, yeah, I can eat Pop-Tarts now, I can eat some donuts now, I can eat some ice cream now, and go to town on that sort of stuff, and therefore, you know, hit your calories and stuff. But if that's your only focus and you don't get in any nutrient-dense food, aka #clean food, what will happen then is it too will feel like a diet for you. You're not going to be able to sustain it. You'll feel lethargic, and therefore, once again, you'll fall off the wagon also. So it's about having that balance between the two, and that will allow you to really develop that consistency and really embrace moderation rather than deprivation. Okay? I find that when someone is in that state of deprivation and they're living by those rules, that's, I guess, robbing them of that freedom of choice, and therefore, when one of those needs is taken away from us, we don't have that variety, and therefore this is where a lot of us crumble and when we fall apart and where our consistency is affected. And if there's one thing that you need when it comes to really creating successful fat loss, it's having that consistency, so that therefore you give your body a valid reason to need to let go of body fat. Because understand that fat is basically free for the body to hold on to, okay? So why would it let go of it if it doesn't need to? You know what I mean? So the idea here is that we're giving it a reason to in a way that allows you to actually enjoy a balanced relationship with food where you're making everything work for you, all right? So the question here is obviously how to really, I guess, define if a food is good for you or bad for you, all right? And really that comes down to who you are as a person. Like, say, for example, if you're someone who lifts 5 times a week and has a fairly demanding office job and you're on your feet all the time, right? You're going to have a lot of calories to play with and macronutrients compared to, say, someone, for example, that you know, has an office job and doesn't really do anything besides cardio, right? There's different energy demands there, and therefore someone that has the higher calorie intake, therefore they're going to be a bit more relaxed. They'll have a bit more room to play with, to fit in some extra chocolate and whatever. Whereas if your calorie intake's really low, naturally, right, what's going to happen there is that the smart move is to pretty much fill your intake with the #clean stuff anyway, because that's what's going to give you, you know, that sense of fullness. It's what's going to allow you to really just not get hungry and you know, keep yourself on point. So it comes down to what your demands are. It comes down to how much weight you've got to lose. It comes down to your lifestyle. It comes down to your values. All these sort of things need to be in check when it comes to that. But I always suggest is that don't classify something as bad or clean or naughty or whatever just because the media tells you to or because such and such tells you to. You decide for yourself, and therefore, really in the scheme of things, you shouldn't be cutting something out unless you're allergic to it or unless it causes you to feel sick or that, you know, you've got some sort of emotional impulse to it. Because really, I find the only reason why people binge on certain things and whatever is because they're looking for that pleasure. They're in a place of pain, they're not enjoying the journey, and they've got the stress of life and whatever, and binging on that stuff that they tell themselves they can't have, they actually really enjoy it, and therefore they go towards it because it gives them that sense of pleasure. But the thing here though is that this is what's undoing your progress, and obviously what's going to allow you to really actually overcome that sort of stuff is by including it probably about 20% of your intake each day, and then what that will do is put you into a state of mind where you're just like, I can have that stuff because I choose to. And then because it's not like so attractive anymore because you can't have it and whatever, and you don't want to rebel, you're able to achieve that consistency far easier, okay? So I truly believe that clean eating is a buzzword, okay? I don't think it's real, it's a fairy tale. Instead, you should change your internal dialect and association towards food. See it instead as fuel for happiness, fuel for lifestyle, and fuel for performance, all right? You choose what makes you happy. You choose based on what fuels your demands and what you're going through on a day-to-day basis, so therefore you create that success. Really hope you found this video valuable. Please, if you have any questions, drop them below and let's keep the conversation going. And also as well, if you'd like to learn some more about this sort of side of thing and embracing the flexible fat loss lifestyle, click below and you'll get access to a Dream Body ebook bundle where you can actually just basically really understand fat loss for what it is. It should be easy, it should be fun, and you should be enjoying every day of the journey and not feeling like it's an absolute slog. Thank you so much for watching and investing your time and watching this video. See you next time in the Boss Fitness world. Take care.